Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Rundown. We appreciate you guys tuning in this week. Our now 12th ranked softball team cleaned house with a series sweep against Texas A&M International, and let me tell you, they came to play. In game one of the three-game series, Gabby Valforte wasted no time in the second, sending a long ball straight over right field to score the first run of the game. Later in the inning, Braylon Booth recorded a base hit followed by an RBI triple from Brittany Rufus to bring home WT's second run of the day. The slugfest continued in the third when Diana Murtha knocked a solo shot over the fence. And to top it off, in the fifth, Madison Johnson drilled a ball into left field to plate two more runs, giving the Lady Buffs a 5-0 advantage. With the exception of an RBI single in the sixth by International's Victoria Maldonado, WT held them scoreless. And I want to real quick shout out Emily Boyer, who scattered 6 hits, had 7 strikeouts on 6 innings of work to secure her 14th win in the circle. And the Lady Buffs topped the Dust Devils 7-1. Check out Game 2's score. And now let's check out the highlights from Game 3. The Lady Buffs secured the series win in Game 3, starting with Diana Murtha at the plate. She launches an RBI double into the left center gap to give WT an early 1-0 lead in the home half of the first. Madison Johnson steps up in the box next, 2 outs, Murtha on second, and she singles it over the second baseman's head to drive in their second run of the day. Heading over to the bottom of the third, Murtha back again. This time, she towers it just over the center fielder's head, putting the score at 4-0 WT. Brittany Rufus at the plate. Runners on first and second, 1 out. She drives one up the middle to plate a run for the Lady Buffs. Still in the bottom of the third here, Ruby Salzman cuts one to left field to bring home the final run of the game. And the Lady Buffs walk away with an 8-0 win. They still sit second in the Lone Star Conference behind UT Tyler. Right next door, WT Baseball was battling St. Mary's in a 4-game series. They gained an early lead when Mike Mineta knocked an RBI single into right field for the first run of the game. Ryan Johnson, right behind him, drove a 3-run homer over the fence to give the Buffs a 4-0 lead to round out the inning. The Rattlers cut into the lead by 2 in the fourth, but WT responded with a homer off the scoreboard by Johnson to bring in 2 more runs. St. Mary's 3-run homer in the fifth was a minor roadblock for the Buffs because Adam Becker's double to center pushed them to a 9-5 lead. The Rattlers continued their fight, but were not able to reach the Buffaloes. The final score was 16-10 WT. Here are the scores from games 2 and 3. Heading over to game 4. Bottom of the fourth, WT down by 3 with a runner on first and third. Adam Becker sends one up the middle. St. Mary's gets a hold of it to try and make the double play, but Becker's able to get on first. Jumping over to the home half of the fifth, Glenn Norona at the plate. And he skies one to left field for a base hit to score 2 runs for the Buffs. Staying here in the fifth, at the plate with a runner on second, 1 out. The pitch gets away from the catcher. Dave Jansen heads for first and then tries for second. St. Mary's sees Norona steal home, so they throw it back to the catcher, and he's safe to tie the ball game. Top of the sixth, Brennan Burdone on the mound with runners on second and third, 1 out. St. Mary's Jake Mayers drives a ball past the first baseman for an RBI single, giving the Rattlers a 5-4 lead. Dylan Fesperman in the box, bottom of the ninth, 1 out. He powers a solo shot over the fence. That ball's out of there. Unfortunately, the Buffs weren't able to find a rhythm, and they dropped the series closer to St. Mary's 9-5. WT still sits fourth in the Lone Star Conference rankings. Running over to the men's and women's track and field team, where the distance runners were competing in California at the Brian Clay Invitational. Starting off with Eleanor Curtabbi, I know this comes as no surprise to anyone. The Phenom broke 2 NCAA Division II records. First in the 3,000 meter race, where she finished with a time of 9:57.76. She's the fastest all-time at WT and the 6th fastest in NCAA Division II record books. But it doesn't stop there. She continued her feat in the 1,500 meter race, recording a 4:18.72, and she holds the fastest time for WT, the NCAA Division II this season, and the 20th fastest time in NCAA Division II history. Florence Uwajaneza competed in the 10,000 meter race, running a 32:49.06, which is the second best time in Division II this season. She also holds the record here at WT and sits fourth in the all-time NCAA Division II record books. Lastly, for the women's, Betty Bajika registered a 16:47.65 to finish second in her heat in the 5,000 meter race. Noah Bundrock was another record breaker, registering an 8:55.44 in the 3,000 meter race to finish 28th out of 132. He now holds the #1 spot in the WT record books in this event. Butari Ruganero ran in the 800 meter, registering a 1:48.19, which is the second best time in WT history and the 4th fastest in Division II this season. He also made an appearance in the 1500 meter race, finishing first in his heat with a time of 3:45.04, which is also the second fastest time in WT history and the second fastest time in NCAA Division II this season. Moving on to the Ross Black Open in Hobbs, New Mexico, where our throwers Luke Holcomb and Hope Gray registered personal bests in the hammer throw and the discus. John Tucker PR'd in the hammer throw and Alex Tice PR'd in the discus. The Lady Buffs still hold the #1 spot going into this week, but the Buffs have slipped to #2 in the national rankings. A lot has been brewing for the men's golf team during tea time. They've competed in the Lone Star Conference Championship since this past Monday. I want to first recognize our player of the week, Louis Palomo. He was named honorable mention Lone Star Conference before the start of the tournament. The Spain native has averaged 73.03 points, has 96 total birdies, and has 5 top 10 finishes this season. He's led the way for the Buffs this week, firing a 4 over par to sit tied at 28th. Individually, the team has shot rounds of 301 and 297 to finish 10th overall, leaving day one. Stay tuned for updates on that. This week at WT, the softball and baseball team are headed up the road to battle against Lubbock Christian. The Lady Buffs will start on Friday at 2 p.m., followed by a doubleheader on Saturday at 1 p.m. The Buffs will also begin on Friday at 6 p.m., with a doubleheader on Saturday at 2 p.m., and they will wrap up on Sunday at 1 p.m. Lady Buff Golf will hit the course on Sunday for the Lone Star Conference Championship game, and that will go through Wednesday. The men's and women's track and field team will be back here on campus on Saturday at the Buffalo Invitational all day long for WT's spring football game on Saturday starting at 10 a.m. Our volleyball squad will also be competing on that same day in New Mexico at 2:15 against the University of New Mexico. Tickets for all of these sporting events can be found on GoBuffsGo.com, or you can watch them live on the Lone Star Conference Digital Network. Last week, I got to sit down with two members of the Lady Buff softball team who have made a tremendous impact during their half-a-decade career here in the Maroon and White. Kyra Lair and Ruby Salzman are great players, but even better people. Take a look. Well, enough of the sad, and we're going to play a game of Would You Rather.
Oh, gosh. I'm terrible at deciding things.
I am too. I'm usually not very good at it either. Would you rather be without music or TV for the rest of your life?
I think that I could be without TV. I'm not a huge TV person. I just like to do my homework and then listen to music and call it a day and go to sleep.
Simple as that.
I think probably be without TV just because music is everywhere.
Yeah. It is. It's like the best. It gets you through a lot of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So many different options.
Yeah, exactly. Would you rather play in 100-degree weather or below freezing temperatures?
Definitely above 100 degrees. I've had to do it back home in California with all the tournaments, travel ball growing up. So definitely that, because coming out here, layering up sucks.
I think probably 100 degrees because I'm old and it takes me a million years to warm up.
I've heard that like 5th year, it's legit. Like the body aches and the cramps.
No joke.
Would you rather have to stand on every bus ride to an away game or not be able to use your phone that entire trip?
I think probably not be able to use my phone because I like sleeping. Yeah.
That was so much fun. You can watch the full interview when it airs this Friday. Before we head out, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at WT The Rundown. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That's all for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. I'm Corin Davis, and you're watching The Rundown.